Man, you want to talk about doing some 180s in your life. This guy, this guy is a pretty amazing story. He's an honor student at the University of Miami. Became a founding member of one of the biggest drug cartels in the 70s. Then got out of that life and became an educator, has a Ph.D., and he's also the author of several books, including the book Narco Mindset, the life principles that a cocaine drug lord learned on his journey to finding meaning in his life. Author Jorge Valdes joins us. George, welcome to AM 950 KPRC. Let's start with the honors student. You're an honors student at the University of Miami. You're not flunking out, right? Did you just need money?
You know what? And it's a pleasure to be with you, Jimmy. The interesting thing is that we look at life and we think that only bad things happen to bad kids. You know, if you have a family, you look at your kids and say, "Oh, nothing can ever go wrong with my kids." So my mom was the same, very religious, and came from Cuba, and we lost everything. My father was very wealthy in Cuba, and all of a sudden, we find ourselves 11 of us sleeping in a one-bedroom apartment in Miami, and writing down what time we're going to take a pee because everyone had to go to school or work. So I decided that, I wanted to live the American dream. I wanted to, what I thought at that time was the American dream. The minute I have money, cars, possessions, and women, of course, I would be somebody of importance. But, my dad was a man of immense integrity, refused to take welfare, refused to take food stamps. He just worked was a millionaire in Cuba, came to clean toilets at JCPenney's, the equivalent of Jackson Byron, the equivalent of JCPenney. But I went to school. I was an honor student at the University of Miami. I've always gotten 4.0 all my life. I was the youngest employee in the Federal Reserve Bank at the age of 17 and never did nothing wrong. I never did drugs. As a matter of fact, I never seen drugs in my life. Never drank alcohol. All I ever did is go to work at the Federal Reserve Bank full-time, went to the University of Miami full-time.
How does somebody like that? How do you get sucked into the drug cartel? You sound like a perfect kid.
And I tell people I went from being the American dream in 3 months to becoming America's nightmare. And the way I got sucked in was not by bad acquaintances. My accounting professor at the University of Miami asked me if I wanted to do his Spanish class. He had moved from Michigan, didn't know how to speak Spanish. And I did. And I went to this little grocery store, which ended up being a front for what ended up becoming the Medellin drug cartel. Because when we started, there was no Medellin drug cartel. There was no Pablo Escobar. There was no narcos, none of that stuff. We were business people. And when I started with these people, when I went there and suddenly I find, hey, I'm doing the accounting for an organization that are drug dealers, I was like shocked for about 10 seconds. That's how long it took me to say, hey, George, I'm an accountant. As long as there's no money laundering laws or anything like that. And I started opening foreign bank accounts, and that's the message I try to take, is that we cross lines in life, lines that we say we're never going to cross it. But the minute we do, then it just becomes easier to cross the next one and the next one. Money had become my idol, my God, my identity. So when I saw the opportunity to open foreign bank accounts for this group, at this time in 1977, Jimmy, we were doing $100 million a month. That's the equivalent of $1 billion today's money. And I thought, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. But then they asked me to handle all operations. I was 21 years old. I was clean cut. I was the president of the Young Republican Party in the state of Florida. And, my whole life was, I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to go to law school. And by the age of 30, I'm going to become a millionaire. But when you cross that line, man, it just becomes so easy. And when you start feeling the taste of money.
You were smart. You were smart. They realized you were smart. You could provide them with some things that they couldn't provide for themselves because of the level of education that you had. How long were you a part of the drug cartel?
Well, I was in charge of all operations in the United States till 1979 when my plane crash landed in Panama. I was tortured by General Noriega, who was a partner of ours, for 30 days to the point I bled for 5 years every time I went to the bathroom. And then I went to prison. I was given the highest sentence in the history of America, the highest bond, $7 million. And at that time, the most you could get for conspiracy was 15 years. So I went up to prison. I came out, and in prison for the first year, I still ran all the operations. Then I passed them on to another group of people. Then when I came out, I didn't have to do anything. I was a millionaire. I had more money than I could ever spend the rest of my life. I had invested it. I owned horse farms. I mean, I used to spend half of my life in Aubrey, Texas, Denton, Texas. I used to be the largest quarter horse breeder in the country. And but you know, is that power which is the most insidious of all drugs, is the one that makes us abandon our family, abandon our kids, abandon everything, sell our soul because we just can't give it up. You know, we just until one day I had an experience with my little daughter who was my life, and she came knocking on the door, and I wasn't supposed to be visiting with her. Her mom dropped her off, and she was like, Daddy's Crystal. And I felt so filthy. Now, here's a guy that people used to say eyes ran through his veins. I mean, nothing fazed me. But all of a sudden, I'm looking at my little daughter, the love of my life, and I can't open the door because I'm going to contaminate her. So when I thought she went away, I was partying with some Hollywood celebrity, and I opened the door, and there she was. And I went into the bathroom, and I started to shake. And I'm like, my life is going to change. And I didn't know what change is. All I knew was if I'm going north, I'm going to go south. If I'm going east, I'm going to go west. And I walked away from the cartel believing that I had about 2 months to live. We didn't have a very good. I was going to say, because
they don't normally let you just walk away, do they, George?
No, we really don't have a very good IRA or retirement program.
No, there's no good exit strategy for the cartel.
No, but, I had a card that I played that I thought would keep me alive, and it did. And it was because at the beginning, here was the thing with them, and I understood it clearly. One thing the cartel could not stand is the unknown. They're looking at Jorge Valdes, and I'm making $1 million to $3 million a month for doing nothing. I didn't come around the cocaine. I didn't see the cocaine. All I ever did was authorize when the plane could come, and then within 5 days, I'd get $1 million to $3 million, and I paid the high government. We had $1 million, bribery payroll every month. So I paid all the high government officials, judges, and all the people that only I knew. And they're like, well, why is George retiring? He's making so much money. He ain't doing crap. He's sitting there in his ranch. And, when they have that doubt, easiest thing is the dead can talk, wipe him out. But, luckily for me, two things. Number one, I knew where all the foreign bank accounts were. I knew where a lot of things that they just couldn't reconstruct, because if all I knew was names, I'd be killed in an instant. And I walked away, and I'm like, look, I don't want nothing. I just want to be left alone, and you all go on. And then our cartel went to war with the Cali cartel, and we all got wiped out. I was one of 3 survivors.
Wow. We've got about a minute before the break. I hope you can hang on, because there's so many things I want to talk to you about, including what's going on with drug cartels these days compared to when you were a part of it. I mean, it's got to be like night and day. As bad as it was when you were there, it's just horrific now. But let's, I want to talk give me about just a few seconds of how you got back into education and how you got your PhD.
Well, when I got out of prison, what was I going to do? Well, in prison, I had a religious conversion, and I wanted to know everything about God. So in prison, I said to myself, I can do time, or I can make believe I'm in a monastery and study day and night. And I did. I taught myself Greek, and I got another bachelor's in theology. And then when I got released, I had started my master's at Wheaton College in Illinois, which I ended up becoming an adjunct professor. And when I got out, I wanted to finish my bachelor's, and then I applied to get a PhD, and I was accepted by 3 Ivy Leagues, and then I ended up going to Loyola in Chicago.
Well, and Wheaton's one of the most religious schools in the entire country. George, hang on a second. We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to ask you about a little bit more about your book, and I also want to ask you about the current state of drug cartels and our relationship with Mexico, and is there a cure for that problem or not? We'll talk more with Jorge Valdes in just a moment here on AM 950 KPRC and the Jimmy Barrett Show. Again, check out his book. We'll get you the information on where you can find it and purchase it and all that stuff as we continue on AM 950 KPRC.
For everyone in Houston,
to have our voices heard,
stand up.
It's the stuff Houston is talking about now. Call 713-212-5950. That's 713-212-5950.
3:40 at a time, AM 950 KPRC. This is quite a story. Dr. Jorge Valdes is with us. By the way, actually George, it's spelled like Jorge, but he pronounces it George, but spell it that way. Jorge. Valdez is spelled Valdes, not Dez. There's an S on the end. It's quite a story. From honor student to cocaine dealer, although you didn't really deal directly with the drugs. You're more of a behind-the-scenes logistics kind of guy, but still, you're knee-deep with the cartel, and you're making all kinds of crazy money from it. And you're doing it for what, 4 or 5 years, I guess, before you finally have this epiphany with your daughter, and you say, "Okay, I got to get out of this stuff. I've got to get back to getting my life." How do you get back though into saying, "Okay, I'm going back to school. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get my PhD." Take me through the process of you deciding what it was you wanted to do next.
You know, the thing is, when they asked me to handle all operations, Jimmy, all I thought I was going to do was make $100,000, buy my parents a house, and go to law school, get me through law school. But the thing ended up being, which at the age of 20, I'm making $1 million a month in 1976.
Yikes.
When I had this conversion experience, I had a man witness to me for 3 years, and I turned my life around. I mean, I was a diehard atheist, turned my life around, and then I'm like, I want to learn everything there is about God. I'm an extremist. I want to learn everything there is about God. So I'm not going to make myself believe that I'm in prison. I'm going to be in a monastery, and I'm going to study. And I ended up just loving the Bible, loving studying theology. And I got another bachelor's. My first bachelor was in accounting from Miami. And then I got my master's. I applied to Wheaton College. Never thought they would ever accept me, but they did. It changed my life. I met my amazing wife for 25 years. And then went ahead and applied to Loyola to get a PhD. And when I finished, I was one of 5 Hispanics in the entire nation with a PhD in New Testament. But then I couldn't feed my family. I could not put my 6 children through college on a college professor's salary, so I started a company from scratch, restoration company, and my wife and we built it into a multi-million-dollar international company. So it's very, very interesting because the thing I tell people about anything in life, crossing lines, is one of the principles I talk about in NARCO MINDSET. I'd say that there's no alcoholic that drinks a gallon of vodka. He dies. Or an addict that shoots an ounce of heroin, he dies. But we just crossed that little bit line. I remember when I cheated on my first wife the first time, I couldn't sleep for a week. But then after that, it was easier and easier and easier. And then, it didn't matter. So, I tell people, listen, we got to be really, really careful. And in today's world where our children are dying, I do a lot of work with youth today, and I see the children hungry. And one of the things I tell people, listen, I bought into the pseudo-American dream that does not exist. The real American dream is the greatest generation, the World War II generation. They work hard, they save money, they put their kids through college, they lived on the sale of their house and their pension, Social Security, and they were happy. Not today. Our American dream today is make a lot of money, have 3 houses, have mansions, cars, and more than one woman. Yeah, and then at the end of the day, very few people ever reach it, and we abandon our family, we abandon our kids, we break up our marriages, and it all becomes a hell. So going back to the cartels, as you were talking about earlier, I'm here to tell you one thing. There's something we can do, but I'm going to tell you this right now. We need to tell the government to stop lying to us. Jimmy, you will never, ever, ever defeat the drug cartels. It is impossible. You kill one, there's 3 worse ones than that. The government spent billions to kill Pablo Escobar. He ended up killing himself, so no one talks about that. I know about it. And at the end of the day, what is it? The people behind them are just as worse. So what happens is we have this focus on the drug cartels down south, which really is 9% of the drug problem in America. 61% comes from pharmaceutical drugs. And we don't talk about that. And the thing about it is this war on drugs is a joke. Now, I tell people, we can't win it. Impossible to win it. I don't think the government wants to win it. But here's what we can do. There's a lot that we can do. We can make a huge difference. I applaud President Trump. Every president talked about prison reform. And the truth of the matter, no one ever had the guts to do it. He's done it. And the thing is, we have this massive incarceration because I'm here to tell you, it's nothing but a business to big interest groups that does not make our community safer. We can rehabilitate people. I've seen it. Louisiana State Penitentiary is the bloodiest prison in America. I've been going there for 19 years. I built the first Catholic church ever inside any United States prison there. And you take the people that are the hardened criminals, and it's safe to be in that prison. So we can rehabilitate people. We can make our society better. We can be locking up people 3 strikes because you stole the bike and then you got caught with a joint and then you sold, a pound of marijuana and you're going to go away for life. That's ridiculous.
Let me ask you this, George, because I'm running out of time here. But as you know, we share Texas. We share a border with Mexico. Cancun and some of the resort areas have been very, very popular vacation destinations. Would you go there now? Would you think it's safe to go there now or not?
Yes, it is very safe. It's very safe, Jimmy. I live in Cozumel for 5 years, right across from Cancun. Here's what's not safe. Here's what's not safe. If we're going to go there to the discos and we're going to party and we're going to try to buy drugs, it is not safe. You're going to get killed. But if you go there with your family and you go to the resorts and you mind your business and you stay clean, you have no problem in there. So, I took my family there for 5 years. We lived there for 5 years. The thing about it is like any city in America. If you go to the wrong places or if you go to clubs and you're trying to buy drugs or prostitution, you're gonna get a crowd that's gonna kill you.
I guess what got my attention is we went on a cruise and we got off on Cozumel, and there was a big truck full of federales with AK-47s rumbling down the street.
Right.
I'd never seen that in Cozumel before, and I went, wow, things have changed.
Well, you know why? Because I don't know if you know that Cozumel has the Camp David for the Mexican president. So probably when you went, the Mexican president was there, and that's when you see the federal going around with machine guns. So
you'd like to think that would make you'd like to think that make you feel better, but it actually made me more nervous.
It does. It makes you more nervous but the thing about it, think about it, they don't even sell car theft insurance in Cozumel because there's never been a stolen vehicle. It's a little island, 8 by 12. Where are you going to go? And the Marine is there. So it is very safe. But at the end of the day, what we need to do is we just need to be aware that there's things that we can do. We can make a big difference in this world. We can create youth centers that will help our kids find out why it is that they need to use drugs to fill an emptiness within them. We can put pressure on big power. We can put pressure on athletes to do like LeBron James and don't leave their damn communities when they make money and go back and do something about it. And we can stop this massive incarceration, create rehabilitative programs, create programs where some of those men can come out and be models for the younger generations. So the problem is very complex, but I promise you the answer is not to eliminate the cartels. It's impossible. They're all over the world. Yeah. There's another thing is we need to get international companies to quit exploiting farmers. That's what we did in Latin America. We saw the banana international companies paying the banana growers nothing, and we came in there and said, hey, listen, forget about growing bananas. You're going to grow cocaine. We're going to pay you $1,000 an acre, and we'll build your hospital. We'll build your school. What do you think that we're going to do? So we can make a difference. We just can't keep doing the same thing we're doing because we have 150,000 American lives dying every year.
Sir,
and unless
I
it
want to
happens
thank you.
in your door.
I'm out of time, but I want to thank you for joining me. Again, it's Dr. Jorge Valdes, spelled Jorge, Valdes, Valdes, author of Narco Mindset, the life principles that a cocaine drug lord learned on his journey to finding meaning in his life. You're an inspiration, sir. Thanks for joining us. It was great to talk to you today.
My pleasure. Nice talking to you, Jimmy. God bless you.
You too. Jorge Valdes. Interesting guy. I'll have to pick up that book. I mean, think of how many times he turned his life around. I mean, that's a pretty amazing track record, from honor student to working with a drug cartel to prison to back to school to picking up your PhD, having a religious conversion, becoming quite the family man. I mean, he's pretty much done it all, I would have to say.